1,100 arrested in furious Istanbul protests after Turkey's government jails the city's mayor. Hundreds of thousands of protesters and the main opposition party criticized the decision to send Ekrem İmamoğlu to jail as politicized and undemocratic. A Turkish court on Sunday jailed Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu, President Tayyip Erdogan's main political rival, pending trial on corruption charges in a move that inflamed the country's biggest protests in more than a decade. The decision to send İmamoğlu to jail comes after the main opposition party, European leaders, and hundreds of thousands of protesters criticized the actions against him as politicized and undemocratic. A total of 1,133 people have been detained since March 19, when the mayor was arrested at his home, Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya said. As many as 123 police officers were injured in the protests, he said, adding that dangerous materials such as acid, firebombs, and knives were seized. As the courtroom developments unfolded, there were signs that İmamoğlu's troubles were galvanizing opposition against Erdogan's government, which has run Turkey for 22 years. Nearly 15 million Republican People's Party (CHP) members and non-members, who made up the vast majority, streamed into polling stations nationwide to either elect or endorse İmamoğlu as its candidate in a future presidential vote, the party said. The non-member vote, more than 13 million, according to the CHP, could indicate that İmamoğlu, 54, enjoys wide public support beyond the party faithful. The party's chairman said it showed the need for early elections. İmamoğlu has denied the charges he faces as unimaginable accusations and slanders and called for nationwide protests on Sunday. "We will rip away this coup, this dark stain on our democracy, altogether," he said. Footage showed him being taken to Silivri prison in a police convoy after the ruling. The mayor of Turkey's largest city was also removed from duty, along with 2 other district mayors, the Interior Ministry said. The government denies that investigations are politically motivated and says courts are independent. Turkey's vice president, Cevdet Yılmaz, and central bank governor Fatih Karahan sought separately to calm market jitters that sparked a sharp sell-off in Turkish assets since İmamoğlu was detained last week, and that analysts expect to accelerate after his jailing. A nationwide ban on street gatherings was extended on Saturday for 4 more days, but protests, scattered skirmishes with police, and some detentions continued in major cities on Sunday, the 5th night of mostly peaceful anti-governmental demonstrations. Solidarity votes. The court said İmamoğlu and at least 20 others were jailed as part of a corruption investigation, one of 2 opened against the 2-term mayor last week. It said he was arrested for establishing and leading a criminal organization, accepting bribes, embezzlement, unlawfully recording personal data, and rigging public tenders in connection with a financial investigation. The jailing caps a months-long legal crackdown on opposition figures and the removal of other elected officials from office, in what critics called a government attempt to hurt their election prospects. 6 of the CHP's 27 municipal mayors in Greater Istanbul are now under arrest, a year after municipal elections in which opposition parties handed Erdogan's AK party its worst-ever electoral defeat. The CHP opened party polling stations Sunday to non-members to cast solidarity votes for İmamoğlu, who was the only name on the ballot for presidential candidate. CHP chairman Özgür Özel said the high turnout in the primary elections, 14.85 million total ballots cast for İmamoğlu, was a strong rebuke to what he called a coup attempt. It called Erdogan's legitimacy into question and makes an early election inevitable, he told crowds at a municipal headquarters in Istanbul. If they believe they can compete with us, with Ekrem İmamoğlu, then let them call for an early election. No general election is scheduled until 2028. But if Erdogan, 71, who has led Turkey for 22 years, is to run again, Parliament would need to back an earlier election since the president will have reached his limit by that date. İmamoğlu is leading Erdogan in some opinion polls. Market turmoil. İmamoğlu is also facing terrorism charges, but the court did not formally arrest him on those at the same time. A future ruling to jail him pending trial on these charges could allow the government to appoint a trustee to run Istanbul. A conviction could prevent him running for president. The CHP said it would appeal the ruling and elect someone to work as acting mayor. Shortly after the ruling, the mayor vowed to ultimately defeat Erdogan, and said those who ran the investigation would be held accountable. İmamoğlu has become Erdogan's nightmare. Mehmet Karatas, an opposition supporter, said outside the courthouse. "We will make Ekrem İmamoğlu president." Since İmamoğlu's detention Wednesday, the Turkish lira, stocks and bonds suffered heavy declines, prompting the central bank to take steps to stabilize the currency, while authorities also announced a ban on short selling on the Istanbul bourse. Karahan, the central bank's governor, met board members of Turkey's Banks Association, TBB, on Sunday and said it will use all instruments within market rules decisively to maintain stability, the TBB said. Civil disobedience has been dramatically curbed in Turkey since nationwide Gezi Park protests against Erdogan's government in 2013, which prompted a violent state crackdown. On Saturday, authorities had detained more than 300 people during protests.